Welcome everyone to our next video. On January 13th, in a statement that caught the attention of European security observers, Andrius Kubilius issued a warning that the future of NATO could head toward a scenario of collapse. At the time, many dismissed this as overly pessimistic, especially considering that the alliance has maintained a central role for decades. Back then, many still believed that despite internal disagreements, NATO remained an irreplaceable pillar of Western security, having survived crises from the Cold War to military campaigns in the Balkans and the Middle East. But in a surprisingly short time, real-world developments are beginning to make that once distant prediction feel increasingly tangible. The cracks between the United States and its allies are becoming more visible with each political and military decision, from force deployment to strategic coordination. At the center of current tensions lies the controversial approach of U.S. President Donald Trump in managing long-standing alliances. He has increasingly argued that allies are not sharing enough of the security burden with Washington. The conflict escalated sharply when the White House proposed forming a force to protect shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz, a region vital to global energy flows, where a significant portion of the world's oil passes every day. Washington initially expected its allies to respond quickly, but reality unfolded very differently. Close partners such as Australia, Japan, and South Korea refused to deploy naval forces, triggering a much harsher reaction from Trump. "I'm very surprised. They should have joined. We always say yes to them," Trump said on March 20th in Washington during an interview with Sky News Australia. Frustration quickly turned into public criticism. Trump expanded his remarks to include NATO members, accusing them of lacking responsibility for what he described as a mission that was not overly complex from a military standpoint. Most NATO allies informed the U.S. that they did not want to participate in its campaign against Iran in the Middle East. At the peak of tensions, Trump even labeled allies as cowards, while emphasizing the dominant role of the United States within the alliance, declaring that without America, NATO would be nothing more than a paper tiger. The intensity of the situation in Washington was further reflected in remarks by Senator Lindsey Graham, who revealed that he had never seen Trump this angry, an indication that the disagreement had gone far beyond normal alliance disputes. From the perspective of U.S. allies, however, their response is not simple refusal. It is a cautious approach, shaped by clear conditions aimed at avoiding being drawn into an unwanted conflict. On March 19th, a group of countries including Germany, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Japan, and Canada issued a joint statement. They committed to supporting maritime security efforts in Hormuz, but also emphasized the need for de-escalation. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz stated that any support could only occur once hostilities had ceased, signaling Berlin's reluctance to be pulled into direct military confrontation. Meanwhile, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius made the position even clearer. "This is not our war. We did not start it. We want diplomatic solutions and a quick end. Increasing naval presence will not help achieve that." French President Emmanuel Macron echoed a similar stance after the EU summit in Brussels, emphasizing that upholding international law and reducing tensions were the best possible actions. In fact, according to the Financial Times, Paris has no plans to deploy forces to Hormuz, highlighting the growing gap between U.S. calls for action and Europe's actual response. At the same time, another development has further exposed the depth of the divide. According to Reuters, NATO has decided to withdraw its advisory mission in Iraq, involving several hundred personnel. This move comes as the conflict with Iran intensifies, forcing many countries to adjust their military presence to reduce risk. Nations such as Poland, Spain, and Croatia have also announced troop withdrawals from the Middle East, citing deteriorating security conditions. It is important to note that NATO's mission in Iraq was not a combat force. Its primary role was training and supporting local security forces, particularly in the fight against ISIS. However, as the security situation shifts toward direct confrontation between the U.S.-Israel axis and Iran, the operational space for this mission has shrunk dramatically. Iraq has once again become a geopolitical hotspot. Militias backed by Iran, once key players in defeating ISIS, are now redirecting their focus toward U.S. and allied targets, leading to a clear increase in rocket and drone attacks. In such an environment, training missions can no longer operate as usual. The top priority has shifted to ensuring personnel safety. General Alexis Grinkovich ordered the relocation of the mission to Naples, a preventive step aimed at avoiding casualties. NATO spokesperson Alison Hart summarized the situation clearly. The safety and security of our personnel is our top priority. To fully understand the significance of NATO's withdrawal, we need to step back and view it within a broader historical cycle of instability spanning more than 2 decades. There is an almost unsettling historical parallel. In March 2003, U.S. and allied forces crossed into Iraq to overthrow Saddam Hussein, opening a long era of civil war and sectarian conflict that left the country deeply fractured. Now, more than 20 years later, also in March, NATO is quietly withdrawing its final advisors, leaving behind a nation still struggling to rebuild its fragile security system. Observers believe that this withdrawal reflects a shift in risk assessment rather than mission completion. European countries appear to be engaging in strategic bargaining with the United States rather than direct confrontation. Analyst Galina Sargorochkova suggests that Europe's position could change rapidly if its energy interests are directly affected. Meanwhile, expert Dmitry Danilov points out that Europe is caught in a difficult position, unable to fully control events while facing increasing risks. NATO is a tool in the hands of the United States. No one is abandoning it, but no one is reaffirming it either. There has never been automatic alignment in these matters, and there never will be, he said. Today's reality shows that the United States has taken military steps regarding Iran without fully consulting Europe, while the economic and security consequences are spreading directly to European countries. Europe now faces a difficult choice: maintaining transatlantic relations while avoiding being dragged deeper into a conflict it did not initiate. And it is precisely this tension, this push and pull, that is placing NATO under greater strain than at any point in recent years.